Welcome to the Exceptional Educators Podcast by Frenalytics EDU, where we are celebrating the voices, stories, and innovations shaping the future of special education. I'm your co-host, Nisha Srinivasa.
And I'm Matt Giovanello, CEO and co-founder of Frenalytics. At Frenalytics, we put special education and English language learners front and center. Our award-winning Frenalytics EDU platform helps streamline progress monitoring, improve communication and compliance, and offer truly personalized learning to your students of all abilities.
Each episode of our podcast features candid conversations with district and school leaders, classroom changemakers, EdTech founders, and industry executives, all dedicated to transforming learning for each student, especially our learners with unique abilities. With a focus on extraordinary educators and the exceptional students they serve, we explore the latest in special education, accessible technology, and inclusive leadership. In this episode, Exceptional Educators is exceptionally thrilled to welcome Luke St. Amand as our first guest, an innovator and co-founder at Lectec, a startup leading the charge in providing hands-on STEM education. Luke's passion for his work and connection to the world of education is transforming the way that students and educators interact with groundbreaking technology. It's great to have you with us today, Luke.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm so excited.
Just to start us off, I am an educator myself, and something that's often asked in the world of education, a question that really floats around is, what is your why? So that's something that really grounds our work as an educator. So what is your why, and how did your journey to the world of education and innovation in education start?
It actually kind of ties into what Frenalytics does. So I thought in high school that I was going to be a special education teacher. I'd worked a lot with unified sports and Special Olympics, and absolutely loved it to a point where we had to do a capstone project, and it was an internship where you could do whole written assignments. So I did an internship, and I volunteered during the summer to work with the special education department at our middle school. So obviously with special education during the summer, they get ahead for the following year and come in for a couple of weeks. So I was able to help out and be able to work with the teachers directly. And it was an absolutely amazing experience. But to be fully transparent and stuff, I think teachers are just saints, just so patient. And for me, just after a couple of weeks, I was like, I love this. And I just don't think this would be the best fit for me for the rest of my life. And I love doing it, and I want to be part of it any way I possibly can. But I was going to try something else, and ultimately got into a path of studying engineering and becoming an engineer at Amazon, and now come full circle all the way back to education and where I think I'm supposed to be, and working with Lectec and trying to inspire the next generation of engineers with our STEM electric vehicle kits and curriculum as well.
That's fantastic to hear, Luke, and a little bit of a small world story as well. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a teacher as well. I think when I was in elementary school, I looked up to my parents, my grandparents who were teachers, including my aunt who's a longtime special education teacher. As each grade progressed, I wanted to be a teacher in that grade. And then at the end of elementary school, that dream temporarily died off, and I wanted to go into what I told my parents to be computers. And now I have found the nice little intersection of education and technology. And it sounds like you found yourself in a very similar spot. And I mean, just before you went full-time on Lectec, you started at Amazon. So tell us a little bit about how your experience at Amazon was, what lessons you might have learned in building your company, and what ultimately inspired you to jump ship and go full-time.
Becoming an engineer at Amazon was not in the cards, I thought, for quite a while. I got extraordinarily lucky. So I was thinking I was going to go into banking and finance and do that whole thing. And I really liked math. But I always struggled with science growing up. I was always intimidated by it. It was probably the class I put the most amount of effort in, but got the worst results. I always just got the worst grades in science, and just kind of lost that confidence and thought STEM wasn't for me. It actually all changed during COVID. So I was home for the summer. Everyone's playing video games, and I was like, I can't do this for months on end. And my buddy was an engineer, software engineer intern at Snapchat. So he was like, hey, do you want to learn to code? I was like, why not? Yeah, I'm doing nothing else with my time, so I might as well learn to code. And I spent a couple of hours. He had just deployed an app on the iOS store, and he was like, I'll teach you a little bit of Swift. And it was literally just a button, and you click it, and it says you are a clown. It was so corny and but I was like, this is super cool. I really enjoyed it. So I spent the rest of the summer kind of teaching myself coding. And then was able to add another major at my school in data analytics and was getting more exposed to coding that way. And yeah, actually, Amazon was the only tech company I applied to. So I'm still thinking of doing finance and stuff, and got lucky. I was able to land the internship and ultimately went out to Seattle and was just on an amazing team and was able to go full time and was put onto like one of the best data science engineering teams. I was like the youngest by 10 years, the only one without a master's or PhD. So definitely some imposter syndrome, but it was the best experience ever. And it was super formidable to what I'm doing now, and couldn't have asked for a better experience coming out of college. And ultimately what made me leave there, even though like I was somehow getting promoted pretty quickly and doing actually decent. But my best friend, Jared, we met in college. He was actually riding an electric skateboard down the trail at our school. And I had grown up watching a famous YouTube vlogger. His name is Casey Neistat. And Casey used to ride his electric skateboard around New York City and just took these awesome daily vlogs and these videos. And that's what inspired me to come to New York. And unbeknownst to me at the time, like Jared was watching him when he was young too, and Jared wanted that electric skateboard. So he wanted to buy one, but didn't have enough money for it because it used to cost like $2,000 back then, and decided to build one himself. And he's very mechanically inclined. So at 15, he was able to hack one together after just a bunch of tries, and ultimately got a successful one and posted about some pictures online that people started asking if they could buy it. And then skip forward a few years, he was able to make a business out of it. And yeah, he ultimately in 2021, those were like adults, those were high performance skateboards. But his nephew was turning 8, Brian, and his sister was finally like okay with him giving him a skateboard for Christmas. So those ones you built, but he thought he'd want to go outside and just ride it Christmas morning. But ultimately he gave it to him put together, and he actually wanted to take it all apart and learn all about it. So Jared and Brian spent hours just learning about, how the battery works, the drivetrain, the gears, how it all functions for a few hours. And at the end of it, his sister was like, "Hey, do I need to slap you? Like, you should do this for kids. Like, this is how you taught yourself mechanical engineering, electrical engineering." And he's like, "Yeah, it's actually a really cool idea." Because ultimately, like, for him and myself, like, going through school, like, it was always really tough. And maybe you guys relate to this in the audience too. Like, always asking yourselves, how can we use this in the real world? And especially with STEM too, like it's a little bit tough because there's a lot of cool hands-on things even nowadays. But back when we were going through school, like a lot of it stays in the class or stays on a shelf, and like having that barrier was really challenging for us. And we're trying to change that with this. So yeah, we have these electric skateboards, electric scooters, and Jared ultimately, like, as his best friend, I was just helping him out when he had this idea where I could, but I was still an engineer at Amazon. And yeah, and it was until 2023, he just, we sat down. He's like, "I think this is going to be pretty big, and like, I want to convince you to leave." And ultimately, it didn't take too much convincing for me to leave because, there's no salary on the other end, but like, how many opportunities can I do this for my best friend and trying to like inspire the next generation of engineers? And yeah, it was an easy leap to make. And now, yeah, it's been a ton of fun. So I was super glad I did.
That's amazing. And it's really interesting to hear you talk about the way you sort of fused your personal passion and connection to your friendship with something that you're trying to figure out, in terms of your next steps and like how you want to bridge those two together. And so I was a little bit curious about what are the skills that specifically let you step into that entrepreneurial space. I know you had this idea. Sounds like you were very passionate about it. And so what was the sort of bridge that let you actually get there?
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely some skills, and I'll touch on that I was able to get from Amazon. But I think it was even deeper down. So like my grandfather, or we call like my Pepe, is from Quebec, and like we have this story. It's probably a myth, but yeah, he left Canada. He was dirt poor, raised on this farm town. I was able to actually see the house he grew up in and stuff. He came down to the U.S. just in his rain boots and the clothes on his back, and ultimately he was able to start a sheetrocking company and employ 200 employees at one point. And yeah, I think like that has always been a really big inspiration for me, like not just from like a skills perspective, but just like the passion of it and like inspiration. And that was really important. And then like, on the skill side of things from like Amazon, that was super helpful. And still to this day, like what I rely on is a couple of things. So like one, Amazon has like a culture of it's the most productive place I've ever been a part of. And a big part of that is like being able to like self-service and just there's going to be tons of problems and things you don't know the answer to. Like both of us were engineers. We knew nothing about the educational space, and it's completely different once you step into it, and there's a lot to learn. But like, we just have this attitude of like, we can figure it out. Like, if we just keep persisting and just keep trying to figure things out, like, you'll ultimately get to an answer or at least something to try. And if it doesn't work, you just keep going. So that was really big when I was at Amazon. And I think like another part of it too is just a lot of working with a lot of stakeholders and being able to like deliver pretty important projects. Like, I was put onto director level, CEO level projects like right when I started, which is very atypical, and got to work on a project that my manager's manager literally said, like, this is something people don't get to work on their entire career. You should not be working on this. Like, this is something someone way higher should be, but we have nobody else. So I trust you to figure it out. So like, just having the attitude of this can be figured out and why not you? And I think that's definitely transferred over to what we do here at Lectec too.
It's funny you bring some of those traits up, Luke, because as I'm sure you know, Tunisia, both in the EdTech and the startup founder space, as well as in schools day in and day out, those are the same traits that you need to be successful in a thriving school environment too. You need to be a self-starter. You need to be doing things that you're not familiar or comfortable with. Sometimes somebody doesn't even tell you to do it, and yet it is your responsibility nonetheless. And you need to really take charge and have that can-do attitude. So it's awesome to hear that those skills permeated not only within your job at Amazon, but you were able to take them on the road with you into Lectec. Those skills are certainly ones that are necessary for success. They won't guarantee it, of course, but you need them at the very minimum in order to increase your odds.
As an educator and definitely as an engineer, like, that is being able to persist through problems and just being able to figure things out. Like, I think that's a parallel between both of them that definitely exists.
Let's switch gears a little bit. I am dying to know a little bit more about your Shark Tank experience. And so as a precursor to that, hit us with your elevator pitch, as long as you want that to be for Lectec, and then we'll transfer into some Shark Tank questions.
Yeah, that's great. I think
I'll put you on the spot.
One thing that's Shark Tank pitch, because it's like a minute and a half, and me and Jared are like making fun of each other that we're losing hair and stuff like that. It'll be better when you actually watch the episode. But yeah, in terms of Lectec and what we're trying to do, like, it's what we wish we had when we were becoming engineers. Like, I was kind of referencing before, like, we always had that problem of that non-applicability to the real world. Like, you get handed a piece of paper or do an assignment, you just know, like, this is probably never going to be used again. And that's building electric skateboards and learning all the components around it is the exact answer to that. So like, you see electric skateboards, electric scooters out and around, and students do the same. And it's like, oh, I can actually build that now. And I can like take that pride and have that connection. And that has been a ton of fun. We've seen a lot of awesome results there. But the really cool part about it too is like, that's where we say like the learning starts. So you're able to build electric skateboard, electric scooter. We have a lot of vehicles as well. And there's a lot of really cool tech components of it, but not even getting to that part of it is like, once you build it, you actually are going to use it in curriculum. So we have lessons that go along with it. So you're actually using it in, Newton's second law, electromagnetism, conversion of energy, so you're like potential, kinetic, all that cool stuff, using the vehicles in experiments. So you're actually able to like take it outside or like bring it up a ramp and use it to learn these concepts. Because I don't know about you guys, but like for me, I totally forgot all of Newton's laws. I don't know. I had to teach myself again when I was like, going through the curriculum. I was like, oh yeah, that's what it is. And this is trying to change that, because you'll be able to have that experience and also like that connection of something you built. It's a lot of fun and it's hands-on, and it's something you hopefully won't forget because it's on a piece of paper.
This feels like project-based learning on steroids to me. Like the most interesting of pieces in a STEM-related curriculum that students at the perfect middle school age are interested in doing, bringing it to life and learning about all of these physics pieces at a really early age along the way. I think it's awesome. And I'm so glad to see this come to life.
Yeah. Thank you. Everyone, it's awesome feedback to get like, oh, this is what, everyone's like, oh, I wish we had this when we were younger and stuff like this. And like having teachers come up and be like, I definitely want this in my classroom, but also like for my son, daughter, nephew, niece, like it's amazing to hear. It's our modern, or what we say, like electrifying the classroom. So our modern approach to hands-on and PBL and just getting kids excited to learn engineering and science and all that cool stuff.
I think it's amazing. As an educator, it's exactly something that I would have wanted to have in my classroom space. I know so many of my former students who I could just see being so excited by the opportunity to connect with something that they do actually regularly outside of school and that really has so much like intrinsic value and importance to them. And as many times as possible, there's a lot of conversations in education about how do we connect students to real world things? How do we connect with their interests? What can we do as educators to infuse those opportunities for students? And so to hear you have something that really does that intrinsically is so amazing. And sort of pivot back a little bit to Shark Tank. I'm a big Shark Tank fan myself too. And so I'm really curious, how did you actually find that opportunity? Did it come to you? Did you seek it out? And what made you decide to actually move forward with it?
Actually, Jared was the first component of it. So we spent a whole year in a school out on Long Island to be able to like get feedback on a skateboard and stuff, because we just didn't want it to be like a toy. Like we wanted to actually be like an educational product. And we ended up doing like a beta testing. So we sent it to like 30 parents and kids, and they were able to put it together and give us feedback and stuff like that. And yeah, every single time we'd kind of show it, like more than 50% was like, oh, you need to like be on Shark Tank. Like this is a perfect product for Shark Tank. So Jared was like, finally listened to him, and yeah, he ended up applying, and there's tens of thousands of applications every season. So it's like a really, really low percentage chance, but he ended up having like they have producers that kind of come through it, and one picked it out. So was really lucky to kind of have that initial interest in it. And then he spent a couple months like going back and forth with the producers and like crafting the pitch, and basically like it just needs to get to a point where like the people that run the show are like, this is going to be great and a good fit. And ultimately it didn't work out the first time. So on season 15, it was kind of like not a yes, not a no. It was just like, this is kind of too early because there was no revenue. It was just a product and some beta testing, and obviously a great story, like him starting a company at 15 and all that cool stuff. But they're like, yeah, it's too early, but reach back out next season. So then I joined the team, and we had some revenue. We made some improvements to the products. I made a curriculum. We actually are going to be used in schools and cool stuff. So reached back out, ignored us for months, and then finally they like sent us some updated info, and we gave them that info. And then ultimately it was kind of along the same process. And it took months. It took a lot of back and forth and crafting it, and ultimately just like trying to be as personal as possible. It's a cool product, and being able to inspire kids to do STEM is something that a lot of people believe in, that mission, and that's really cool. And then also it's reality TV at the same time, so it has to be like entertaining, and for Jared and us, like we're very logical, like straight to the point. So like us turning up our personality like to the max, times 10, that took some practice to do. But yeah, I like to say myself was like I was the reason why he didn't get it for season 15. I joined the team. We get it for season 16. So if you see Jared, you gotta tell him that too.
I was going to say, I'm hearing a big difference, and it's the co-founding team. So Jared has a big thank you to give you, but a huge congratulations. That's incredibly exciting. As you pointed out, for it to go on for 16 years, they've seen hundreds of thousands of applications by this point. The fact that you were able to stand out was phenomenal. I do need to know, as a fellow Long Island native myself, what school on Long Island were you working with?
So we met at LIU, Long Island University. That's the college we went to. And then a local school, it's called Mineola High School. So,
oh my God, with Superintendent Nagler, yes.
Yes, Dr. Nagler.
He's the best. What a small world.
Yes. Him and Whitney have been huge supports. They believed in what we were doing. They had started this new program at their school. They purchased like the gym that was like across from the high school and made it like a modern classroom. It's like called Synergy. And basically it just had like, it just was non-traditional classrooms. And yeah, we were able to like be there for a year and be able to like work with students and also like have our office there and stuff like that. So they've believed in us from the start. So Lectec probably wouldn't be a thing without Mineola.
That's amazing. I'm so glad they took a chance on you. I know they love taking on early startup ideas, and it's amazing to see what the successes they could become.
How do you feel like that experience that you had on Shark Tank shaped the way that you continue to innovate in your role? I know you're talking a lot about product testing and development, and I'm wondering how that experience specifically has been really impactful on your work.
I think first one, just thinking from the Sharks, like we're getting live feedback on what they think. It's like actually a little known fact is Mr. Wonderful was part of an educational company. That was like where one of his like first big successes was. But then in like season 5, he actually like really doesn't like working with educational companies anymore. So we were really nervous about that. But no, it was awesome. Like we got a lot of great feedback, and I don't know why he doesn't like it. I think it's absolutely amazing to be in this space. And yeah, I think that was cool just to get that live, feedback when you can have the chance to like be able to talk to such amazing and successful business people. And then 2, I think like the experience of just being able to share a story of Lectec. And I think like a lot of people are able to relate with like being bored in science and having it be intimidating and stuff like that. So sharing our approach to the solution to it is awesome. And we'll be able to get a lot of exposure and feedback, especially after tonight once it airs, and see if like we're a lot, on the right track, and see if everyone else kind of agrees too, because it's been in a lot of schools and a lot of educational places, but this would be a really cool way to see like if it also fits at like home schools and within just the home itself, and just for as like a Christmas gift. And I think it's gonna be the main part. I think we'll learn is actually after we see the feedback of it.
Absolutely. And in reflecting further back on the Shark Tank pitching experience, that back and forth with the sharks, to the extent they're able to share with us, give us an insight or two of what you took away from that beyond the feedback, good and bad, maybe that you got grilled on. We won't spoil it too much, but that you might be able to take away either for other listeners or as you're channeling it back into your work post Shark Tank production. What are some takeaways from your time on set?
I think a lot of it was taken away from even like before. It was just how to craft something that's you gotta be interesting to people that are watching, and like you gotta, obviously it's a cool mission, a cool product, but like they need something to believe in and get behind. And that was something we struggle with like in terms of prep, because we were just focused on like the business, the numbers, and getting prepared for like all the zinger questions and anything that could stump us on. But like we weren't even focusing on really like what is that connection that not only like the sharks will have, but everyone at home will be able to too. And kind of recrafted everything that we were thinking, and really honed in on that. And I think that was a really big success. I think like everyone got it and understood what we were trying to do, and it was, really liked the product and what we were doing. And I think it was really good. I think the pitch is it's hilarious too. So the first minute and a half is like a couple of things that we didn't even like plan or like script, they like happened. And I'm super, I haven't seen it at all either. Like Jared and I, this will be the first time we see it. So I'm really interested like what they keep in and stuff. But in the picture, this is the one tidbit I'll give, is because I posted it, and if you look really, really closely, it's like Jared and I sitting next to each other, and there's a white little piece of something right next to me. And it's actually, the students are throwing paper planes and balls. And the one student, it's young Jared and young Luke, he throws it so perfectly. It hits me in the side of the head, like the best throw ever. And it just hits the side of my head and bounces off, and I'm like laughing while I'm talking. So that's one tidbit I'll share. For the rest of you got to see for yourself.
I love hearing that. It sounds like exactly like a story plucked from my classroom. So that's amazing. Speaking about students, I'm curious, as somebody that has had a lot of students that are really interested in the entrepreneurial space and in doing that in the future, what advice would you have for any students or anybody really who's looking to get into that space of innovation and education, that crossover?
Great question. I first would say that I am not special at all. Like I am not super smart. Right? Like Jared's far smarter than I am, and I will give him those brownie points whenever, even though it might.
I find that hard to believe.
It definitely inflates his ego, so don't tell him that often, but I'll admit it, he's far smarter than I am. And yeah, I've never been like exceptionally amazing at really anything. Like I just love learning and be curious about a lot of things and try really hard. And I think like that has been really helpful, is like it doesn't take someone that is just like a genius like Elon Musk or anything like that. Like just totally normal. And I think the biggest thing is like the traits that you have as a person is like the more important part, is being able to persist through problems. Like there's going to be so much ambiguity, like things you just don't know the answer to. At the same time, it's also a business. There's a finite amount of resources and time that you have in the day, but also as a business. And that's kind of in the back of your mind while you're doing a lot of things. So how do you kind of combat that and also focus on the things you want be working on and improving the product, but also getting it out there? So it's just a lot to juggle, and you kind of have to just be prepared for that. And part of it's not anything you can be prepared for before in terms of the experiences you've had. You just have to kind of throw yourself in there, and you'll be able to adapt and get used to it. It's definitely not an easy thing, but if it wasn't a challenge, like, what's the fun of it too? So, and anybody would want to do it. So it's kind of special to be able to make that leap and have that confidence that you're able to think about a bunch of different things and solve a lot of problems and be able to just keep chugging and keep persisting through it all. And I think a big thing that I forgot to mention is being like passionate about what you're doing. I think that's wildly important. Like, if you don't fully believe in like the solution you're providing and the problem you're trying to solve, and just the overall mission of what you're trying to accomplish, like, there's going to be so many hard things that it's just going to be really tough to be able to like kind of get through that and still believe in it and still love what you're doing. So just being really passionate as a person, but also passionate about like the idea, that's also nice.
I would love to know, do you see Lectec and the products that you guys are developing, how do you continue to see that growing to scale to continue to impact the world of education and STEM?
The next for Lectec will be, honestly, I don't even know. I think it's going to be, we're launching a new, our electric scooter and stuff like that. So Lectec stands for electric technology. So just anything that's to do with electric technology, we want to be able to teach. And so maybe it's more electric vehicles. Like we want to do a bike next year and launch that, but also like even getting into other components of it. So, wind energy and solar energy, and being able to use, like, I haven't touched too much on like the hardware side of things, but there's a lot of cool stuff you can see in real time, voltage and current, and there's, you can learn Watt's law and Ohm's law and be able to code on it. So there's just a ton of that stuff. And like another hardware part of it too is like we're going to be adding AI and a camera to it, so you'll be able to actually see like object detection, object avoidance, and teach that. So there's so many cool hardware components of it, and also to go along with it, like all the lessons that we can think of to be able to enhance that even more. So I think anything that's to do with electric technology, we want to be able to get into and modernize how it's taught and get it out there. So I think the next year is going to be super exciting with what we're able to develop, for sure.
I am floored to hear all of those ideas. For one, it sounds incredible. Just the combination of passion, innovation, and connection to continuing technology that's developing. I could just see the way that it can continue to transform and modernize the experience of education for students in the classroom. So really big kudos to you. That's really impressive and amazing.
I can't take credit for it. It's mostly Jared. I just helped out.
Again, I don't believe that. So to wrap up today's conversation, Luke, I want to pose a question that we pose to all of our guests, which is, what does being an exceptional educator mean to you?
It's a great question. I think the biggest thing is, so even myself, I was able to teach. We part of City College in New York this past semester, and worked with their STEM Institute. So taught every Tuesday night for 2.5 hours with a class of 25. That was like my first experience, like really being able to teach a classroom. And it's hard. It is super tough to be able to do, even with a cool product like what we have. And the kids are able to build. And every single class, after we built it, they wanted to go ride it. We spent like 45 minutes in the beginning class going to ride. I don't know if that was because they didn't want to hear me teach, or they really just loved being able to ride the skateboard and get better at it. It could be both. But even with that, like, and having them buy in that engagement, like, it's not easy. And I praise and absolutely love all the teachers that are able to do it and do it phenomenally well. I think like the big distinctive factor for me too was just being able to like connect and relate with the students. And it's a little bit easier, like, when I'm able to teach the product and it's the product they're using and stuff like that. So it's completely different. But I think that could be true across other platforms. And that's like what really stands out in an exceptional teacher, is like being able to understand like the students and what they like and what they enjoy and want to learn about, and being able to like deliver that in a really cool way.
You summed it up perfectly. Luke, thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. It was fantastic to have you here on the Exceptional Educators podcast. Congratulations again on Shark Tank. For those who are interested in watching, 8 o'clock, Friday, February 7th, ABC, be there or be square. Luke, thank you.
Thank you so much, Matt. Thank you so much, Nisha. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being here. We were so honored to be able to talk today.